Well, there were fireworks at the National Press Club this week with a passionate speech by Independent Senator Lidia Thorpe.
The proposed voice to Parliament is not a step in the right direction, and that we need to mature as a nation instead.
It was no surprise that this speech made headlines around the country. The Sydney Morning Herald reported Thorpe backflipped on her commitment to avoid campaigning for so-called progressive no and used a speech at the National Press Club on Wednesday to rail against what she labelled a powerless and patronising voice being pushed on Australians with white guilt and elite Indigenous figures, with little connection to grassroots communities. And The Guardian ran with a similar line. Lidia Thorpe says the voice to Parliament is window dressing, wants referendum called off in a debate which at times has been framed as a left and right political issue. Now, Thorpe's criticisms of the voice are interesting, and some journalists are clearly struggling to reconcile how a left-wing politician could possibly be against the proposition. But it all comes down to this quote: Thorpe does not want to be a part of our constitution because she would rather the system is torn down.
I don't think a yes or no result is going to make any difference, regardless of what it is. If it's no, well, we know that the country's racist, like it is. It is a racist country. There is a lot of money owed to First Peoples. I mean, look at the resources that have been extracted over 200 years. You know, we don't want to send the country broke. I'll put that out there now. Otherwise, we could.
Well, Michelle, I listened to this speech and what I took from it is this is such a complex issue that across the different political spectrums, to have someone who's quite far left with their opinion, Australia's racist, we don't want to be part of the constitution, the country is essentially beyond redemption, being on the same stance against the voice, I don't see how this thing can pass. I don't see how Australians are going to be unite over that. What do you make of it?
I mean, where do we begin with Lidia Thorpe and this address to the press club? I watched this in full and I talked about it on my radio program yesterday. She is confusing and she is confused. So she contradicts herself at every moment. She says, vote no, but if you vote no, you're racist. Like, that doesn't even make sense. She makes the constant point that we are racist and that we owe people money and that reparations should be a thing. But what she's doing is she's the one who's causing the divide. She's saying this referendum is causing the divide, but comments like Lidia Thorpe's are what drive a divide between most people. Because let me tell you, I don't want to engage with someone who constantly tells me I'm racist. I'm not racist. I care about our First Nations people. I would do whatever you think is best. And if voting yes is something that you all can agree on, then I would do it. But I think what she does is she drives a wedge between everyone here, and I'm just getting sick of it. And I think, you know, if she is so sick of representing Parliament and being part of the white man problem, leave, just leave.
Yeah, Caroline, do you agree with those thoughts?
Yeah, and there's not really much to add to that. I mean, you know, she takes a paycheck from the system that she doesn't think should be there. And Michelle's absolutely right. Everything that she says cuts across itself to the point that you only have to get about 5 minutes in and intellect, you just switch off, because she totally denies herself any credibility because her positions are both so extreme and so nonsensical.
Yeah, I mean, it raises the question, you know, why the National Press Club dedicates so much time to her. But also, I'm really keen to get your thoughts on what this means for the Greens. She used to be a Greens senator. Yeah. Obviously, she's run into a feud with them. They're now all racist as well, according to her. But where does a party like the Greens go from this if the Labor position is pro and there are people who are Greens-aligned, voters who are taking Lidia Thorpe's much more radical stance that the system is beyond redemption? How do they become an oppositional voice to Labor, or do they just
I don't
campaign
think
on houses and rent and other issues.
I don't think they do. I think the Greens lost their way as soon as Bob Brown stepped down. I think Bob Brown was really kind of the defining moment for that Greens party, and he was the one that legitimately made them a party to contend with. I think now they've just lost their way. They've just turned into like socialists who just believe we need to tear the system down, and then now you've got Lidia Thorpe saying half of them are racist, but then the other half are really nice. So I can't get a read on the Greens, and a lot of things that they put forward just don't even make sense. You know, capping rents or putting a freeze on rents, you can't do that. We're a capitalist society.
I feel like sometimes they just present things knowing they're never going to have to.
100%. And I think that's the problem. That's why they will never be taken seriously as a party.